one of the big pain points is being 10 or even 30 seconds behind everyone else because of the radio delays. And the data that the leagues are collecting is so low latency that we're able to generate this experience from the floor to your hands in basically less than a second. Oftentimes, could even be less than half a second. What that gives is that immersion in the real-time experience that many fans have felt excluded from in the past.
Well, Jerred, welcome to the middle. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Megan. Really excited to chat.
Yeah, and you said, or I read, that the idea for OneCourt started with a video that you saw. So what was that video? What was that moment? Can you walk us through it?
Yeah, video that started OneCourt was one I saw on Instagram a few years ago. So it was a blind person and a woman at a soccer match, and they were sitting in the stands, and the woman was watching the game and at the same time moving his hands across a game board. So they had made this game board, out of scrap plastic or cardboard, and with tactile lines representing the details of the game. And then she was basically animating the movements, so whether it's the player or the ball, with their hands. And I just kind of realized that was a new format for watching sports. And I think the realization on top of that was, okay, how do we bring that to everybody? How do we scale that experience? Because it wasn't super common at that time.
And are you a soccer fan? Did you grow up watching sports?
I'm not actually a major soccer fan, but I would consider myself a strong sports fan. And it's more about the breadth for me. Like, I like all sports, anything competitive, from billiards to American football, tennis. Tennis is probably my favorite sport.
Tennis is an underrated sport to watch and be involved in.
Yeah, it's a great game. I love it. I try to watch the four majors, or at least a little bit of them.
When you saw that video, did you immediately think like, hey, this could be a business? Or was it more just, did it open your eyes? Maybe that's a bad way to phrase it, but did it open your eyes to a new way of viewing sports and especially that fan engagement?
A little bit of both. I would say I pretty immediately realized that there was a technology here. There was something that you could build to animate that experience, automatically. It wasn't something that had been done before, but it was like, it seemed plausible that you could do it. And I am constantly thinking of new things. Like, I've got a master list of projects that I'm waiting to do, but I think OneCourt has given me and our team quite a bit of focus towards a singular mission of like, okay, here's something here was a spark that we've now turned into, a growing flame. And I think it was pretty immediate. Like, it's usually not like that. It's usually like I'm ruminating on something, but in that moment it was like, okay, this is new. This is interesting.
Because for someone that is low-sighted or blind, how do they experience a game or a sporting event right now?
I think like different people have a wide range of experiences with sports viewership, but the predominant ones within the blind low vision community are audio-based. So many fans are listening to the game on the radio, and that comes with a couple main challenges. The first is, especially if you're in venue, there's delays, right? You might be 10 or even 90 seconds behind the action, which is really frustrating when everyone around you is reacting and having a in the moment interpretive experience, and you're asking, hey, what just happened? Or you're waiting, 10 seconds to hear about it. It's really frustrating, and no one wants to be behind the action. I guess the second and maybe more inherent problem with radio and other audio-based description is that it tends to miss spatial details. It's really challenging to communicate, for example, the position of a ball, right? Because it's always changing. Like, by the time you've taken the time to describe where a ball is, it's already changed. It might be on the other side. It might be a totally different play. So it's like, how do you communicate those details instantaneously in a similar way that fans with vision are interpreting sports? Because no one who's watching the game visually is putting too much conscious thought into their viewing experience. Like, they are able to ingest Like it's ingest, then the second layer is interpret. It's very challenging to make that step to interpretation because you're ingesting someone else's experience, right? So that's why, the commentator really matters because you might find one you really like, or you might find one that's talking about their lunch.
Yes, and I think that that's a commentary on the commentary of how much of the game is, I don't wanna say lost, but just how much of the game is actually focused on what is happening on the field, on the pitch, on the in the stadium versus,
Yeah.
that filler talk that they throw in.
And that's why I think radio is the most desired format because you can think about it. It's really obvious actually when you think about radio commentary versus TV commentary. Like the radio host is not assuming you have a visual experience to pair with it, right? They're assuming that you're just listening to the game on the radio. You're driving or you're at home and you're doing the dishes and you're listening to the game. Whereas I think the TV commentators get a little lazy because they don't have to do the heavy lifting. It's there in front. They're assuming that you have that in front of you, even if it's a bad assumption.
So tell me about the device. How does it work?
So you can think of the device, we've called it a tablet. It's like a tablet in size and shape, and also similar in that it has a display, but instead of pixels on a screen or pixels that you see, OneCourt is made up of pixels that you feel. So it's using the very same principles of animation to create the impression of movement without any moving parts. I think that's like the special thing about it. And it's all vibration based. So it's like people have the experience or the reference of their phone vibrating, but when your phone vibrates, it's the entire phone. And when OneCourt vibrates, it's like a point on your phone and you can feel things moving around. So that's kind of the right way to think about it. And most people don't fully get it until they actually experience it, which is totally fair.
Does the device now look similar to that first one that you built?
No, the first one we built, hardly, you wouldn't even call it a device. I mean, it was a piece of plywood, so it didn't have a lot going on, but it was how we kind of thought about our prototyping was each prototype was an opportunity to test something, right? And that very first version, despite being a piece of plywood, was testing the hypothesis of can we animate vibration? Can we create the illusion of movement? And the answer was yes. I was like, okay, let's take the next step. Let's build that next step. So a lot of these early prototypes were very engineering focused. And then it wasn't until a little bit later that we kind of tied it all together in a form factor that was actually device-like.
Was creating that illusion of animation the hardest technical challenge that you guys have had to solve, or has it been something else?
I would consider the system level of that to be true. Yes. Designing a system where the animations, where the vibration is a localized and enjoyable experience is really challenging because it kind of it's going against the grain of what vibration is designed to do. Like we can go back to the phone example, like when your phone vibrates, there's a reason the whole phone vibrates. Like that's by design, and that's kind of moving with the design of the actual physics. But we're kind of trying to move against it because we're trying to say, okay, we don't want this vibration to bleed. We want it to be hyper local, and that's not easy. It's something of a material science question, an engineering question, physics question, software question. Like there's so many elements that go into that. So that as a system is very difficult. The other thing that was challenging was just understanding this landscape on the data side because, we initially thought, oh, we'll just do this ourselves. Or you could imagine, someone doing it manually, like drawing on an iPad and having that animate the display. But we kind of realized that, okay, we need to automate this. It shouldn't be manual. It's not going to scale if it's manual.
Yeah.
And we discovered that the leagues actually have the data already. They know where the ball is, where the players are. And so it was less of a technical challenge and more of a business challenge of how do we work with these leagues and understand their data and ultimately translate it into an experience that fans love and that they can use wherever they are.
Does the device change based on what the user is watching, whether it's football or basketball? Because obviously there's different fields, there's different balls, etc.
Each device has overlays. So the hardware remains the same. It's kind of like having a phone and putting on different cases. So, but in this case, you swap out the overlays depending on what sport you're watching. So if you're watching American football, you've got an overlay that has a tactile graphic of the football field, the yard lines, the end zones, the field goal posts, and all of those are represented through basically just bumps or textures on the surface, and then they're animated with the vibrations underneath. So then if you're watching baseball, you just swap out that overlay with a baseball overlay. And a funny question there on the design side was like, okay, well, we've done a lot of sports and most sports are played on a rectangular field or pitch, but baseball is unique. It's a diamond. So it's like, oh boy, how are we going to do that?
I was thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually got creative and we ended up putting the diamond on the left side and then the strike zone on the right. So it's kind of a multi-view experience. And the strike zone, of course, is so relevant to the entire flow of the game that it made sense to give it a little bit of real estate on the interface. So yeah, and fans love it. I mean, you could feel every pitch. Where was it? High and outside? Was it middle of the strike zone? And all of that's happening in real time.
And is there an audio component as well? So they're listening and feeling?
Absolutely. And that's critical because without that, and I think this is true broadly, like when you're limited or you're designing something for a single sensory experience, you are often creating additional friction for learning. If something is just audio or just visual or just tactile, the burden on that singular sense is really challenging, right? Imagine if you were, listening to you were at a PowerPoint or you're at someone's presentation and they had a PowerPoint and they didn't talk. They just showed you the slides. It's like, well, that's kind of boring. I'm not going to understand it very well. And you could think of it similarly here, like to have the touch and the audio at the same time, it's bringing the best of both sensory modes and giving people a fuller picture and one that they can understand very quickly. So at the same time that you're feeling a touchdown, you're also hearing the commentators talk about it, and it reinforces the learning really quickly.
Was there ever a moment where, when you were building it, when you were going through the prototypes, where you either thought this isn't going to work, or was there a moment where you had that light bulb moment of like, this is going to work?
We had both. I think my favorite one is actually the latter of like, we had a light bulb moment of this is going to work when one of our very early prototypes, it was super simple. We were working with a student at the UW who was blind, and we were basically trying to understand, like, could he identify where the vibration was on the display and how easy was it to do that? And it was kind of to our surprise that not only could he do that immediately, but he came up with a naming system to identify and communicate where this was. So it was kind of like Battleship, A1, A2. So it was a grid, and he was able to do that instantly, and it demonstrated to us like, oh my gosh, like this is not only is this possible, but it's intuitive and people are getting more out of it than we expected. So yeah, I think that was a major win for us at the time.
Oh, I can imagine. And I can imagine just seeing it in use. I mean, I think for any technological device, when you're prototyping it especially, it is exciting to put it in a user's hand and just get that feedback. But this has so much more meaning to it because of what you're giving. Did that feedback surprise you as you moved forward in the development of the tool?
A lot of it did. I'd say one of those things was actually the importance of the multisensory experience. I think early on, we were very bullish on the idea that haptics could do everything. Like we thought we had stumbled upon this system that like you wouldn't even desire or want anything other than just the haptics. And I think it became really clear and was also surprising that we were totally wrong about that. Like people not only want the other experiences, but they want to decide it for themselves. Like, oh, am I listening to the TV? Am I listening to the radio? Is there some other broadcast? And like just being able to be flexible and pairing our technology with the systems that are already out there. Like we just learned pretty quickly that our goal is not to replace radio. It's to uplift these other technologies and kind of marry them.
And I love what you said about deciding that experience for yourself, because I think every fan wants that to a degree. I think that we all want to, we make that decision if we're going to go watch a game live versus watch it on our TV versus what channel we're going to watch it. Are we going to be really data heavy, or are we just going to want to have the experience? Do we listen to it with sound on or the sound off? We all have that. We all want that sports experience, that fan experience to be customized to us.
It's one of our big bets is that we think the personalization of sports is the future. It's actually right now. I mean,
Yeah.
we're betting on it, and I think we're seeing that within our community. Like, just giving flexibility, giving agency to users is really valuable. But also, there's levels to it. Like, there's going to be users who desire every single lever available to them, right? Like, I want to decide whether or not the commentators are talking about player names, versus not, and 1,000 other levers that they might pull on to define their experience, versus there's going to be fans who just want beginner, intermediate, advanced, buckets of experiences or personas that kind of give an average of like what people are looking for. And that's kind of where we're at is, we're still designing that like beginner level of, this is the first experience of its kind.
Yeah. Is there a moment in a game, like a goal or a turnover, where the device really comes alive?
It definitely becomes more intense on things like scores of any kind, which, depending on who you're cheering for, can be a really high emotion or a very low emotion. But yeah, we do our best to animate in the context of the event, so like not every shot in basketball is the same. Like a logo shot, a little different than a mid-range jumper. So I think we'd like to continue to add more and more layers to that content to convey the context and the emotion behind these different things, because so much of it is the tension, right? The conversion of events, like a wide receiver in a corner, like running at the same objective and kind of closing in on it at the same time and going up for the ball and only one of them coming down with it. Like there's so much tension that is created in these sporting moments. And we think a lot about how do we convey that in a really intuitive and fun way.
But I think it has such value, like you said, of to your point with the data. There's so much data in sports. It's something that, keep me honest, like you can't just plug it all in and just be like, go forth, device, and translate this.
Yeah, it's true. And it does speak to the timing of the solution, right? Like
Yes.
OneCourt in its current stage was not possible 5-10 years ago, right? The data infrastructure has allowed this solution to emerge. So we're very fortunate in that way, and grateful to the leagues for investing in this technology, and to see a new application of their data, I think is really exciting for everyone. Myself, our team, our fans, the entire sporting community, I think is excited to see not just cool, but really useful things come out of this data.
You're meeting the moment. I mean, you really are. You mentioned the leagues. What leagues have you worked with? How has it been used so far?
Yeah, so we've designed for several sports, American football, soccer, basketball, baseball, and we work with all the major leagues, so NFL, NBA, MLB, did Club World Cup. We did a pilot there. So there's definitely work across the board in sports. And that was actually a surprising thing as well, is it has been easier for us to generalize this across sports than we expected. And I'm actually hoping that trend continues beyond sports entirely. Like I want to see new applications in gaming and other entertainment on this platform. But yeah, we've designed for several sports. We're gonna add a couple more here soon. We're working on hockey at the moment.
Oh. And are you're using them in venue, right?
So yes, and I realize we haven't even talked about that. So the the main use case right now is in venue. So as I mentioned in the beginning, one of the big pain points is being 10 or even 30 seconds behind everyone else because of the radio delays. And the data that the leagues are collecting is so low latency that we're able to generate this experience from the floor to your hands in basically less than a second. Oftentimes, could even be less than half a second. And what that gives is that immersion in the real-time experience that many fans have felt excluded from in the past. So yeah, for the first time, people feel like they can go to a venue and enjoy the game with everybody else. So we license the technology to the sports teams who then offer it to fans for free as an accommodation on game day.
Okay, so it's actually the leagues offering it or the team offering it to a fan. How many devices are out there right now?
Oh gosh, I think we typically start with 5 per venue.
Okay.
So yeah, they're available at every single home game. Fans can check them out. So we've seen most of our scale within the NBA. So we have 10 NBA clubs that are on board that offer OneCourt at every single game. And a lot of this is in partnership with Ticketmaster. So they're a major partner and sponsor in this, where they share the mission of, we want to see fans in the venue. We want to improve the fan experience. We want this to be accessible. And they've shared our mission and helped make this possible. So I would say without Ticketmaster, OneCourt would not be as widely available as it is today, certainly. So mainly growing within the NBA, but we're starting to see the other leagues as well. We did 5 NFL pilots, which even culminated. We did a Super Bowl activation. So we were,
Oh,
yeah, 8 fans actually were at the Super Bowl, enjoying the game
that's
in person,
awesome.
it was incredible.
Because you worked for the Seahawks, right? Am I right in the regular season?
Yeah, we did. So we did a pilot with the Hawks, which is our home team,
Yeah.
being from Seattle. So to work with them throughout the season was incredible, but to see them win the Super Bowl was, icing on the cake.
I bet. My Lions have not made it yet, but we will get there, Jerred.
Fair enough.
We will
Soon
get
enough.
there. How long does it take for someone when they're using the device to go from this is new to like, I get it. I can pick it up.
Yeah. I think it's one of the most important things about it is that it is very fast
Yeah.
because when you're delivering a real-time fan experience at a venue, there can be very little time for learning. One, because it's like the least supportive environment for learning, right? Like
Yeah.
there's crowds, there's noise, blaring music, beer, food. There's a lot to take in that environment, and you don't have time to spend learning a new language, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like nobody's taking their Duolingo at the stadium, right? Like it's the worst time to learn something. And on top of that, it's like you go to a game, you pay your honest money to enjoy a game, and you want to enjoy that game. You don't want to have to wait and enjoy the next one. So we typically see people pick it up within the first few minutes. It is, yeah, it's very intuitive. You basically put both hands on the surface, and you pretty quickly start to feel and track those vibrations as they move across the surface. And with the audio, you can understand that very, very quickly.
How are you collecting the data as folks use it in the stadium? Like, is that data being relayed back to you? Is their experience being relayed to you and your team for, improvements and new features, et cetera?
Yeah, I would say in the very beginning when we were doing, it's much easier in like the pilot stage, because there's that kind of working expectation. You're often there in person with people. So being able to observe and talk to people after the game is extremely valuable. And we get a lot from those experiences. I would say once it's ongoing, we're actually, this is an area we're looking to improve is kind of our feedback loop with fans, because it can be challenging to get feedback in especially that's still fresh, like
Yeah.
it's oftentimes that we may hear from a fan days after and they may say, oh, I had the best time or something didn't work quite right. And I think getting the feedback as it's fresh is still a challenge. So we're kind of piloting a concept where, yeah, fans can basically, we can get some of that information while they're there at the venue, whether it's through our device or, online. But yeah, we're definitely piloting different ways to improve that feedback loop.
Has there been a moment, you kind of touched on it, but has there been a moment where it hit you that this could be bigger than sports?
Well, it's people tell us about it, right? Like I'm grateful that that's not coming from me, like um, if I was the only one saying that, we'd be in big trouble. But thankfully, it's a lot of this is community led. Like people are coming to us all the time saying, "Hey, I really enjoyed this at a Clippers game, but have you thought about this for gaming or have you thought about this for concerts or other types of media or entertainment, even education?" Like people are coming to us all the time with those ideas, and
Yeah.
right now we're just too small a company to explore them. Like we're very early stage, we're a seed stage company, and we sort of need to earn the right to do other things. I think we're trying to stay very focused in delivering this core value to fans in stadium and very soon at home. But eventually those other use cases will make their way on there, I'm certain.
You touched on it. So what is the case for at home? Like do you want to eventually have this in homes?
So we're actually launching that this month. So for the
Oh.
first time, yeah, we're doing a pre-order so fans can basically be the first to get this at home. We'll be shipping at the end of this year. So we're kind of finishing up on our design side, building this out, and we're excited to get that feedback from the market for the first time. So it's only available to our wait list actually. So
Okay.
it's something of a private launch, and fans need to join the wait list if they would like to be invited to purchase. But yeah, we're very excited by that proposition again because it came from the community. Like fans have been asking ever since we've started this in venue, they've been asking, when can I use it at home? And and I think that's a really beautiful thing because it's kind of a flywheel, right? Like fans are able to try this, abstract thing they've never tried before in the most complicated and crazy environment and love it so much that they want to use it at home. It's like that's a fantastic signal, and we're looking to lean into that and make it available to as many people as we can.
And when they use it at home, will it be sport specific or will they be able to interchange?
Yeah, so interchangeable. And that's a
Okay.
big difference between the B2B, sort of the current enterprise version, is that, we don't want those overlays to come off.
Yeah.
We don't, we anchor them down. But at home, it's totally different. Like you want to be able to, it's like changing the channel. You want to just be able to flip through and watch whatever you want or play whatever you want.
That makes sense. How do you think, especially outside of this community, that a lot of fans have unintentionally been blind to this problem of how do others experience a game differently than me?
I think we assume that everyone's experience is like our own, and that's generally not the case. Like there's so much variation in experience, and I know in this context we're just talking about disability or not. And I think people forget that it's like a quarter of the world has a disability of some form, and many of them are invisible. And I think even within the blind low vision community, I think people often look for the symbols, whether it's the white cane, is kind of the common symbol of independence for blind folks. But there's many people who are low vision who do not use a white cane, or some people refuse to use a white cane for fear that it may kind of call them out socially.
Yeah.
And like that's not really that's not the right message I think that we want to send as a society, is that you need to hide something about yourself. Like that's not what we want. So I think opening everyone's lens to a broader range of experiences and abilities is definitely worth an afternoon of thought, or worth even better a conversation.
Do you think there's anything in your work with the leagues and Ticketmaster and stadiums Is there anything that would surprise fans about how stadiums are still set up and how accessible or inaccessible they are?
It's a good question. I think one of the things that surprised me was the sports industry is extremely tight knit and kind of everyone knows each other and they're friends. Like I always assumed that the rival teams that animosity or that rivalry extended to the front office as well, but it really doesn't. I mean, these are kind of partners on the same journey, and I think they understand each other. They can empathize with each other because they're going through the same stuff. So I think that was like a really surprising thing to me.
Has building OneCourt changed the way you watch sports?
It has. I mean, it's definitely made me more aware of kind of the underpinning or the behind the scenes of live sports and also sports fandom. Like I've just been exposed to so much passion across the board, whether it's from the fans or from the people who lead these teams or these leagues. And I think seeing everyone's kind of unique connection to sport has been really inspiring. And I think made me a better sports fan, not necessarily a bigger one, but just a better one. Like I'm just more appreciative and understanding of sports broadly. And like I said at the beginning, like my sports fandom, it has not deepened because of the time factor, but it has sort of broadened to I love all sports.
It's a good thing to love. If and I'll say when this works at scale. I was going to say if, but it's a when this works at scale. What changes for someone who is a kid right now, growing up blind or low vision? Like, how does his or her experience change with sports?
Wow. I think so much of this, the value is in the social community. As much as I like to watch sports highlights alone, watching sports with others is really what it's all about. Enjoying community, having fun, cheering on your team to win the game. Like that's really at the core of it. And I think for fans to feel more included in that or feel that they can participate more fully in that fandom and in that community, yeah, super special. And I think it's our biggest mission is like sports are for everyone. Let's work to see that actually become a reality.
I agree. Sports are really for everyone. And I think you guys are doing fantastic, fantastic work on bringing that, making that not just lip service, but actually making that a reality for so many folks who haven't been able to experience it the way that you or I do, and a lot of other people do. Jerred, this has been so fantastic. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving us a deep dive into the technology and what the experience is. I usually I say I end with a controversial or a spicy question. I don't have that. I don't have that for you, but I wanted to know as we were talking, if you could use OneCourt for any moment in sports history, current or in the past, what would it be?
Oh man, that's really hard. I'm wishing we got our hockey product done sooner because I would have loved to have caught the men's and women's Olympic gold medal matches. Like to see that happen, oh my gosh. I cried a little bit. I was like, geez, this was incredible. So it's hard to pick like all time what moments, but it's stuff like that. It's really inspiring to see both the women and men triumph in the fashion they did. Like, yeah, I wish I could have enjoyed that one through OneCourt, but we didn't have it done.
Well, Jerred, like I said, thank you for coming on. We are cheering you on. We are definitely rooting you on. And I appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, Megan.
Thanks for spending time with us in the middle. If today's story caught your attention, drop a subscribe, share the episode, follow us on social media, and remember, it ain't over till it's over.